Thank you. We have four wonderful senior speeches that are very, very different, but all have great stories to tell here this morning. I hope you enjoy them as much as I've enjoyed reading them. Our first up is Mr. Jackson Peacock.
This past summer, I embarked on the craziest adventure I've ever had. And that's saying a lot if you know me. I spent 2 weeks in the High Sierra Mountains of California, 2 hours outside the city of Fresno. There, I did a 50-mile round-trip hike with nearly 6,000 feet of elevation change while carrying an 80-pound backpack. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, and trust me, it was. But during those 14 days, I learned more than I ever could in a classroom. When my mom first told me about her Outward Bound experience, I told her, wow, that's really cool, I bet you had a great time. When she told me she wanted me to do the same trip, I said something like, what, are you crazy? I could never do that. After constant nagging, I did eventually agree to sign up for my trip. Come summer, my departure date was approaching quickly, and I couldn't be more nervous. This would be my first time alone this far away from home, in addition to having no access to my phone or any sort of internet. So, in some ways, you could say I went rogue. When I arrived in the Fresno Yosemite International Airport, I looked around at the people I'd be spending my next 2 weeks with, and I never felt more intimidated. What I didn't know is those 9 boys would become my family. Something I could never realize in the comfort of our own society is how truly attached our generation is to technology. Because of social media, face-to-face confrontations have significantly decreased. When we were in the mountains, we had no choice but to interact with each other. I created bonds and friendships quicker than any I've ever had at home. I never understood why strong friendships are made with those you endure hardships with until I had to say goodbye. Our sore muscles, sweat, and dirty clothes are memories that I will always cherish, and I thank them for that. Most of the kids on the trip were from California, so they were all very familiar with the landscape. Now, I only need to say one sentence for everyone to know where I was from. I was constantly teased about my Minnesotan accent, and was asked to say all sorts of phrases like, oh, hey there, or how's it going, eh? I think some of them were confusing Minnesota and Canada, but it was still a good conversation. Being from someplace different than the rest of the kids was never a burden, but it was a reality check on how fortunate I am. Many of the boys were not nearly as educated as I am, and I was surprised to find out most of them were there to treat a drug addiction. Some of the stories and comments made were unbelievably racist and sexist. I couldn't believe I was the only one who had any sort of knowledge of the matter. In those moments, I appreciated all that MPA has taught me, and I look back on my life and realized how truly lucky I am, and it's something that I'm thankful for every day. For those 14 days, I lived the simplest of lives. I carried everything I needed to survive on my back and ate nothing but rehydrated milk and oatmeal. By day 3, I was already dying for a box combo from Cane's. Freedom of eating was not something I appreciated until I had to ration out how much food I could eat in a day. For 36 hours, I was sent off on my own into the wilderness with a limited amount of water, peanuts, and raisins. I remember sorting out the 2 handfuls of peanuts and raisins I had into an hourly eating schedule. When I was asked by my mom in the car ride home from the airport what I learned, I said, appreciation for what I have on a very basic level, a bed, running water, where I live. I also appreciate how much I have, but really it was the simple things that you just take for granted until you don't have them. I don't think I've ever felt more relieved than when the instructor put a bag of water over my head and called it a shower. Now, every time I step into the shower, brush my teeth, or go to the bathroom, I think back to when my face was so covered with dirt that I thought I was tan, or pouring out water from a water bottle to brush my teeth, or having to dig a foot-deep hole in the ground to go number 2. These things most people take for granted, I now see as a blessing. I want to leave you with the same ending Outward Bound gave me. On the 13th night, we all gathered in a circle to hand out certificates to congratulate us on completing the most physically demanding backpacking course they had to offer. In this meeting, we were given the chance to take a pin back home with us. The pin represents your improved self that you were bringing back home. It wasn't required to take a pin, but if you did, it means you're ready to bring back all the lessons you learned on the trip. Most of the boys talked about recycling more or being kinder to others, but I decided to bring back my curiosity. Being in the wilderness made me realize how many things I haven't done yet. To quote myself, I want to start doing more things. I never want to be cooped up in my room watching Netflix while I could be out exploring. I never felt more alive when I stood atop a 14,000-foot mountain peak and stared off at the gorgeous background of the Sierra Mountains. I decided in that moment I was ready to take my pin, and I was ready to go home, and I was ready to be the person I was meant to become. Thank you.